All right, the Dumfriesttown Council, Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, is now hereby called to order. Can you take the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Brown,
Present.
Councilman Fields,
Here.
Councilwoman Miles,
Present.
Councilwoman Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Pete,
Present.
Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Here.
Mayor Wood.
Present.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Okay. We'll have the open the silent prayer and reflection, and then that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Why do I have like all these? Just want to say happy primary election day. Hopefully everybody made the polls before they came in here. Next on our agenda is we're going to adopt our agenda. Any changes or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I welcome a motion.
So moved.
It's been
Second.
moved. It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I call for the question. Councilman Peterson?
Aye.
Councilman Fields?
Yes.
Councilman Pete?
Yes.
Councilman Brown? Aye. Chair Pro Tem?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
That's a yes for me. That carries 7-0. All right, next on our agenda is the proclamations. The first proclamation is for National Pollinators Month. These little creatures are very instrumental to our ecosystem. It says, whereas the town of Dumfries recognizes the invaluable contribution of pollinators and their vital role in supporting the ecosystem, biodiversity, and food production, whereas the National Pollinator Month observed in June provides an opportunity to raise awareness about the importance of pollinators and the need to protect and conserve their habitats. And whereas pollinators, including bees, butterflies, birds, bats, and other insects and animals, facilitate the pollination process, enabling plants to reproduce and produce fruits, seeds, and other essential plant products. And whereas the pollination process is fundamental to the reproduction of flowering plants, the diversity of plant species, and the production of the foods we rely upon for subsistence. And whereas National Pollinator Month serves to educate the public about the critical role of pollinators, the challenges they face, and the actions we can take to protect them from their habitats. And where sustainable architectural practices that consider pollinator health are vital for the preservation and pollinators, emphasizing the importance of diversified crop rotation, reduced pesticide use, and other eco-friendly approaches. And whereas the town of Dumfries is committed to promoting awareness, education, and action to safeguard pollinators and their habitats within our community, now therefore being proclaimed by the Town Council of Dumfries that the month of June is hereby designated as National Pollinator Month. We urge all residents, businesses, community organizations, and educational institutions to join in recognizing the importance of pollinators, raising awareness about their significance, and taking steps to protect and support these vital creatures. Furthermore, we encourage the creation of pollinator-friendly habitats, the adoption of sustainable architectural practices, active participation in citizen science initiatives, and advocacy for policies that prioritize pollinator protection. Signed, Mayor Dare R. Wood, Town of Dumfries.
Mayor Wood, we have Mr. Mati, and I may pronounce his name incorrectly. I'm about to make a mess of it. He's one of our vendors at our farmers market from Rock Hill Honey. He's here to present, and he will have to tell you how to pronounce his name because I'll make a mess of it.
So basically in 2010, I was a contractor for FBI. I started with one colony. I now have 1,100 colonies. We pollinate all over the country, and our bees travel from Florida in January to Bakersfield, California, back to Florida, the orange groves, then up here to Virginia to pollinate crops. In Virginia, we pollinate for Del Monte, for Ocean Spray cranberries, apple farms in Charlottesville and Pennsylvania, New York, blueberries in Maine. If you ever go to the grocery store, you see Wyman blueberries. They've probably had my bees touch them and help them come to fruition. And then from there, they go to cranberries in Massachusetts, then out to Ohio for the summer, where they will replenish and make a lot of honey. And then they will come back here for a short time where we rehab them and then return them to Florida for the winter so that we can enhance survival. Our biggest challenge these days, we really have two, is one, keeping the bees alive. That's always been a challenge. The other thing is that we are losing businesses left and right. The average age of people in this industry is 55. We need much younger people in this, and there are very few that are taking up the call to work in a farm of our nature. So there is money out there. I mean, it is, you can definitely make decent fees. For example, we send 1,000 colonies out to California. That's my big money crop. And we get paid $215 a colony for 30 to 45 days of work. So there's money out there. And then every time we move them, we get paid again. And then, of course, we have the honey. And then we come to farmers markets and things like that. So there's a multitude of things that you can do. If you ever want to see us, come look us up, www.rockhillhoneybees.com, and we'll be happy to have you out. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Chair Pro Tem, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. In keeping with the town's tradition and commitment to equality, this is a very important proclamation and recognition of LGBTQ Pride Plus Month. A fun fact about Pride is that when Pride was actually founded by Marsha P. Johnson, a Black woman, it was actually an act in resistance of police violence. And what a lot of people do not know is that when that was happening, the LGBTQ community was forced to brutalization from the police force. And then when that actually happened, members of the Black and Brown community actually joined in the protest against it. So that's another example that none of us are free until we are all free. So I digress because I could go on forever in a day, but the mayor, you know, he runs a tight ship. So I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas we are a nation founded upon and guided by the principles of equality, justice, and freedom for all. And whereas the Prince William County Board of Supervisors resolved to proclaim June as LGBTQ Pride Plus Month in 2018 and 2019. And whereas the town of Dumfries, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and more residents are a vital part of our community and contribute greatly to the economic and social well-being of our community. And whereas the town of Dumfries is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, and sexual identities of its residents. And whereas the Center for Disease Control recognizes that negative perceptions of the LGBTQ plus community result in increased risk of experience of violence, mental health, and substance abuse against and amongst its members. And whereas the town of Dumfries added protections in its equal opportunities employment policy based on gender and sexual orientation in 2018, and whereas June is widely recognized in the United States as LGBTQ plus Pride Month, and whereas the town of Dumfries recognizes the importance of equality and freedom from discrimination, and whereas the town of Dumfries believes that our power lies in our diversity and acceptance of all, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Dumfries hereby proclaims the month of June to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and more Pride Month by order of council signed by Mayor Derek Wood.
Thank you, Dumfries Town Council. As most of you know, the Dumfries Town Council and the town of Dumfries has a very special place in my heart. I don't live here. I live on the other side of 95, but I wish Dumfries extended. It's very important that this acknowledgement is made by governmental bodies. It's important for our older generation of LGBTQ because it gives them some relief in their senior years because they had to hide who they were or they were beaten and killed. It's very important to our younger generation because they need that support. A child from the town of Dumfries reached out to me yesterday in how to talk to their parents. So this is important. It shows love, it shows acceptance, and it shows strength that you do this. We are in some challenging times when so many of our transgender adults and youth are being murdered and attacked, when our schools are under attack with the bullying of children, which can never be accepted. I don't care who that child is. So your support and your acknowledgement just let you know that it means a lot. It means a lot to the children and to the community. And I'm honored to be here to accept this. Equality Prince William fought for this for years before it ever happened. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the June 6, 2023 regular meeting. So move. It's been moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion on it?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Um,
Vice Mayor.
so is it appropriate to request that when we have presentations from outside entities such as Retail Strategies, sometimes when we have these presentations, we ask questions that require follow-up. When we ask those type of questions, can we have those questions included in the comments so that we can trace the track the follow-up? Thank you.
Any other discussion? Pete? No? Wait, what's up? All right.
Town
Any-
Manager?
Do have a question, so does that require a minute to the current minutes that I have for you?
No, just for future.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions, I will call for the question. All right, it's been properly moved and second. Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem,
Aye.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Peterson.
Yes.
So yes, for me, that motion carries 7-0. Next on our agenda, is citizen comment period. Are there any citizens currently signed up?
No, sir, not tonight.
Did any citizens come in and get a chance to sign up? All right, seeing none, we'll move to reports and presentations. All right, the first presentation of the Town of Dumfries Affordable Housing Funds to Prince William County Habitat for Humanities. Nick, our principal planner. Come on up. Oh, got it. All right. Nick look like what? All right, so we want to thank Habitat for Humanity for their generous help to the family whose house was severely damaged. And we just at this time want to present this check to them. Who's here to represent? Oh, okay, come on now. Come on, y'all whole council work together.
Go ahead and push your chair in so now to close.
I got you.
So we want to present this check of $5,000 to Habitat to Humanity. Entire council.
Before you snap, wait.
Good evening to Mayor Derek Wood, to Vice Mayor Monet, City Council. Thank you for this generous donation. With Habitat for Humanity, Prince William County, if it wasn't for you all donating these funds, we would not have been able to help a family in this town. Those funds helped cut that cost in half. I'll give you a short story about that. One of your residents' sewer lines had broken and she could not use her shower. She could not use her toilet. So she was using her neighbor's shower and toilet for over the past 3 months. And she reached out to Habitat for Humanity, Prince William County, and seeing if we can help. And of course, we're not going to turn a blind eye on that. So we went up to help her out. And I say that to say this, we're not here, ladies and gentlemen, for the income. We're here for the outcomes. And we help serve one family at a time with that. Lastly, with this help in the funds that you have given us for the town of Dumfries, this marks number 7 for your families and over 44 critical home repairs in Prince William, Manassas and Manassas Park. So again, thank you for the partnership. God bless you all. And we look forward to working with you all in the future as well.
All right, moving right along. Next, we'll have a presentation of the Prince William County School Strategic Plan by Dr. Latanya McDade, Prince William County School Superintendent, who has come down to grace the town of Dumfries for the very first time. So y'all give her a round of applause. She has been in Prince William County for a little over a year and a half and really got in there and built the strategic plan out of nothing. And we wanted to get an opportunity to speak from this. Unfortunately, she got another place to be after she did the presentation. So we're grateful that you had the opportunity to come down and do it. Dr. McDade, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good evening, Mayor Wood, Vice Mayor Nickerson, and the entire council. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. Thank you for the invitation, Mayor Wood. We did launch an ambitious strategic plan when I first arrived to Prince William County. So I came to Prince William County July 1st, 2021. And at that time, the school division did not have a strategic plan in place. The strategic plan that was in place was expired. And as a result of COVID and the closures, there was no plan that was renewed once the old one expired. So as I came in, the first goal was to ensure that the school division had a strong plan for how we would move the school division forward, especially considering coming out of the pandemic and all of the consequences of being, throughout the pandemic with students and learning loss, et cetera. And so we embarked on the division-wide listening process where we engaged over 4,000 stakeholders to give input and feedback as to what they want to see for education in Prince William County. And that was a diverse body of stakeholders to include community, faith-based leaders, parents, student voice, staff, teachers, leaders. So it really embodied, the full depth and breadth of what the hopes and dreams and aspirations of Prince William County residents really hoped for in our schools. And so I'm excited to share with you tonight what came out of that. So first I'll start with the vision for Prince William County. Our vision is to ensure that every student graduates not only on time, but with the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind necessary to create a thriving future for themselves and their community. What does that really mean when we say that? Everybody understands, yes, we want students to graduate on time, but we have to recognize that our job as a school system goes beyond handing that diploma off on the stage and then saying goodbye. The true test and measure of public education is whether or not students, when they graduate, are positioned to be able to have acquire a rewarding career, be able to experience economic mobility, and live a purpose-driven life, one that is fulfilling and rewarding, where they can give back to their communities. That's what we want for every Prince William County graduate. So that argument between, should we be preparing preparing kids for college or for career. It's not a either or, it's a both and. We want to make sure that ultimately every student can acquire a career, and there's multiple pathways to get there, college being one of them. But there's also other pathways that may not lead directly to college out the gate, but could lead to that if they go into the workforce, take on an internship. We have business partners now paying for students to get a degree, to get certification, but start out going into the workforce. So there's multiple pathways for students to be success, but we embrace our role in public education in making sure that students actually thrive once they leave us and not just graduate. So that's what's embodied in that vision. Then we have our mission. Really is around ensuring that we're trusted partners with families and community, that we are preparing students to meet our profile of a graduate, which I'll go into shortly, and that we're committed to inclusive practices. Prince William County is the 10th most diverse county in the country, and it is the most diverse county in the Commonwealth. And that's not something to sneeze at. We're really proud of that. We believe that diversity is our superpower. And so that means that everyone, students, families, and staff, have to feel a sense of inclusivity and belonging. And it is our job to make sure that we have inclusive practices and equity with expectations of excellence for every student and every employee every day. So before I jump into some of the key components and commitments of our strategic plan, I do want to share just some quick facts about Prince William County, because the division has changed over the years. And I'll share a little bit of what that change looks like. Today, I talked about our diversity being the first most diverse in the Commonwealth, and we are the second largest school division in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 34th largest in the nation. Also, our minority population has grown significantly over the last decade. We are 72% minority in our student population. We have 25% of our students are English learners, 13% of our students are students with disability, and 47% of our students are economically disadvantaged. It's important to note that our English learners just in the last 5 years has grown by 40%. So that's a significant increase. And even our students who are economically disadvantaged has grown up to the tune of about 55%. So that's something that we have to pay attention to, that our demographics are changing and we have to be prepared to meet the needs of all of our students. And so Prince William County doesn't look the same as it did 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And so a lot of what you see and hear in our strategic plan is to address our current population. We have about 16,000 employees, 7,255 make up our teachers, 5,420 staff, and then 4,033 other. So it's a total of a little over 16,000. If we take a look at our current finances, our cost per pupil, you'll see here that Prince William County is still faring out at the bottom, and there's still some disparities in terms of funding. If we had the amount of per pupil funding that, let's say, Alexandria or even Fairfax County had, that would add an additional $300 million to our budget, if we just had the same type of funding that those school systems had. So one of the things that we're continuing to do is advocate for increased per pupil spend for our students, because we have to think about the fact that I just shared with you our demographic has changed. And in order to really educate within a spirit of excellence every single student, the needs of some of our students, the per pupil amount is much higher than what we really can continue to afford to do and ensure that all students' needs are met in all of our schools. Our core values include equity, inclusivity, innovation, integrity, resilience, and well-being. Equity just essentially meaning that we want to make sure that every student has access to excellence in education, regardless of their zip code, regardless of their country of origin, regardless of what language they speak or their race or their gender identity. Every single student in this county should have access to a high-quality education, and they shouldn't have to travel across the county to get it. Quality education should be available right in their backyard, and that's what we're striving for with what we've developed so far in our strategic plan. And we know that this is a process that will continue to grow, but this strategic plan lays the foundation for what we expect for all students to build from. Inclusivity, celebrating our diversity. Innovation, understanding that our classrooms have to be spaces where we're preparing students to compete be competitive in a global market. Integrity, making sure that that there's trust and transparency in everything that we do. And then resiliency. We just believe in the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, and we've all experienced a great deal of adversity. And so we want to make sure that we are resilient in solving problems and coping with change and challenges. And then the final one being well-being. And I think that's not lost on anyone here. We all are seeing what's happening with more and more situations where we're dealing with mental health. Right now, suicide is the #1 cause of death, especially in young children, especially when we look at what's happening with our young girls. So we have to pay close attention to attentive to mental health and making sure that we're attending to the social and emotional needs of our students and our staff. So having well-being and taking responsibility of physical, mental, because a lot of times when we think about well-being, we think about physical safety, but safety in our schools goes beyond physical safety. It includes social, emotional, mental, and psychological safety as well. We did develop what we're calling a profile of a graduate. So that vision that I started out with, making sure that every student graduates with the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind to be able to create a thriving future for themselves in their community, means they have to have certain characteristics when they graduate. And so in their K-12 experience, from the time they enter Prince William County to the time they graduate as a senior, our goal should be not just the academic component, but helping to develop these kinds of characteristics that's going to allow them to create a thriving future. We see those characteristics as making sure that students are critical thinkers. So understanding that they shouldn't be just consumers of knowledge, but also producers of knowledge so that they can solve real world problems and apply their learning to real life situations. A digital citizen, how they use technology to better the world around them, being responsible with the level of digital access that they currently have, being innovators and visionaries, making sure that our students understand that they have to be creative thinkers because we believe that they're the leaders that will solve today's problems. Global collaborators is so, especially today where education is so politicized and polarizing. It's important for our students to value different perspectives and viewpoints and understand diversity as a strength. And then finally, a resilient person. We want all of our graduates to have resiliency and the skills to overcome obstacles and adapt well in the face of adversity. So that is our profile of a graduate. So when we see students walking across the stage, these are the attributes or characteristics that we hope they will embody when they matriculate through our system. So now I'll get into the nuts and bolts of the strategic plan. The strategic plan is grounded in 4 key commitments, and I'll break down at a high level what our goals are for the full 4 years of the strategic plan, some of our initiatives for that plan, and how we're setting out to meet some of those goals. The first one is learning and achievement for all, and that's where we want every student in every classroom to have high quality academic experiences, right? So not just sitting in the classroom, sit and get, but learning and achievement for all goes beyond the classroom walls. Access to whether it be specialty programming, extracurricular activities, curriculum, making sure that every student's experience is one of quality, no matter what school they actually attend. And the goals that we have for learning and achievement for all, I'll go through some of the goal highlights as well as some of our key strategies. Positive climate and culture is our second one. And this one goes back to something that I mentioned earlier, making sure that all of our schools are hospitable places to every child, where every family and every student and staff feel welcome in our schools. The third one is family and community engagement. We cannot do this work alone. And so it requires us to serve as trusted partners, not just with our families, but also with our communities. That means our businesses and our faith-based leaders and our community organizations. We have to be in partnership with them. And then the final one is organizational coherence. That's our 4th commitment. And I'll get into each one of these. The 4th commitment, I think everyone here, when I talk about the commitments, people understand learning and achievement for all. They're like, yep, got it. That's all the academic stuff, extracurricular. That's the educational experience. Positive climate and culture, people get that. Family and community engagement all sounds like education to me. Then we get to organizational coherence and people are like, what are you talking about, right? It's normal business nomenclature, but organizational coherence is important because this is a large school system. We've got 100 schools. And what we have to make sure is that we're operating as a school system and not a system of independent schools where everybody's doing their own thing, because that's how systemic inequities occur. When we don't have a common North Star that everyone's working towards, as well as normed practices across the system. So I shouldn't have a parent who has 3 kids, 2 of them in elementary school, 1 in middle school, and the way we're explaining attendance excused or unexcused is different, right? So you got 3 kids in the same house absent, and the 2 schools are saying something different. That's an example. We can't have things like that happening. Or, discipline or testing procedures. It's so many different things that, I can point to where sometimes it brings confusion for families because what's happening in one school is something totally different happening in another. We understand that every school community is unique and that the way that a school may approach how they meet the needs of their students would look different. But we also understand that when it comes to policy and governance, there shouldn't be differences in that. We should have uniform practices and norm practices across the school system to ensure that we're eradicating inequities that might occur in the school system. And that's what organizational seeks to do. What it seeks to do is make sure that we are one team united under one vision with the same goals. So I want to now take each of these 4 commitments and go through some of our goal highlights, as well as some of the strategies for each one. So with learning and achievement for all, we have 3 core objectives here: equitable opportunities for all students to achieve, preparing our students for post-secondary success in the workforce. So a lot of what we do around career and technical education falls there, college enrollment, scholarships, things of that nature fall there. And then the third one, preparing our staff members to support and challenge all students. So making sure the education that students receive in the classroom, that we're supporting our staff to be able to be prepared to have a 21st century learning environment for all students. Some of the goals in learning and achievement for all include, we do want to have a 95% graduation rate by 2025. Right now, our graduation rate is about 91.74. Of course, we took a hit coming out of the pandemic when a lot of the requirements were waived. And then when we came back and those waivers were removed, of course, you would imagine that we experienced a hit there. So right now we're at about 91.74%, but our goal is 95%. We're keeping that goal. We're going to have to double down on our efforts to get more students across the finish line and decrease the number of students that are dropping out. We have a goal of 60% of our graduates earning at least 1 early college or career credential. So if students take advanced placement, international baccalaureate courses, or Cambridge courses, or even dual enrollment, they can get early college credentials. We have about 18 students that graduated with basically an associate's in their back pocket. And we know what that does for them to be able to persist towards a 4-year degree with reduced debt. So we're pushing early college and career credentials for those students who are going directly in the workforce. Our goal is to get more of them graduating with those credentials in their back pocket so that they can go into their field already certified. We also have a goal to decrease a 10% decrease in dropouts. And when we talk about that 10%, we're saying 10% of the population that's currently dropping out. We want to see that number decrease. It's not an actual 10%, meaning so if we're at 6% now, you'd say, okay, how are you going to get to 10%? You're at 6%. We're looking at actual numbers of students. So whatever number makes up the percentage we're at now, we want to decrease that by 10% in 5 years. And then the others are all around assessments. Right now for our students in elementary are assessed on the SOL. We want 85% proficiency, that's both pass and advanced pass by 2025, 80% elementary students reading on grade level by grade 3. And then you'll see the 60% graduates will meet SAT college readiness benchmarks. College readiness benchmarks, when students take the SAT, that tells you whether or not the probability or the likelihood of a student actually being prepared to not only enroll in a college course, but successfully complete that course, meaning that they have the knowledge and skills that suggest they're ready to take on a college course. And so we want that to be at 60%. And this is all relative to our current state where we are right now. And then finally, you'll see at the very bottom there, some other goals we have about work-based learning and CTE. We have a goal to have 3,500 summer employment opportunities for our rising juniors and seniors by 2025. I'm happy to report that already at the end of last year, we don't have all our placement numbers for this school year because we just ended, but last year already we had placed 1,160 rising juniors and seniors in summer employment. And we've had several big summer employment fairs, career fairs for our students. We also want to have 500 formal business apprenticeships and internships by 2025. So we want students graduating with an internship or apprenticeship in hand. And so to do that, we've been growing our business partnerships to make sure. And what we're saying to our business partners is that you're on the hook for this, right? These are your future employees. What better way to build your workforce than to take advantage of the pipeline right here in Prince William County? And I'm glad to report that our business partners have been answering the call and they have been awarding apprenticeships and job offers. We had a career a CTE signing day where we had employers come out and make job offers on the spot for our students. So I'm really happy with the momentum that we've gotten from our business community. Some of the strategies, and I won't go through all of them, but for learning, for the sake of time, because we have 3 more commitments, but for learning and achievement for all, I do want to highlight just a few strategies here. Expanding access to gifted AP, IB, and Cambridge coursework and dual enrollment classes. We have seen inequities there where we have underrepresented groups in advanced coursework. And what a lot of research shows, the University of Chicago did research on students who take AP and IB courses, and they are 50 to 80% more likely to actually persist towards getting a college degree just by being enrolled in the course, even if they don't pass the end of year assessment. So we know exposure to advanced coursework positions our students well, but we were seeing underrepresentation from Black students and from Hispanic students and socially, economically disadvantaged students, as well as students with disabilities in these courses. And so we've put an all-out effort to increase that as well as in gifted education. So we have strategies to expand that. Increase advanced learning opportunities for our English learners. Oftentimes, English learners are left out of these courses because there's a perception that because they may not be English speaking in some way that translates to them not being able to perform, when in all actuality, that has nothing to do with their cognitive ability. And they are qualified to take on these courses, but we have to make sure that they are aware and knowledgeable about it, educating parents, and then providing the necessary support for them to be successful. The other thing that I want to call out here out of all of these is post-secondary planning, advising, and counseling. I believe that every student should graduate with a plan for their future in their back pocket. When they walk across the stage, we shouldn't be sitting in the chair wondering what a student is going to do when they leave. They should have a concrete plan, which means they have to have a knowledgeable adult having a conversation with them and advising them about their future. We cannot make the assumption that every student is sitting at the dining room table with their parents talking about their future. We have parents working 2 jobs, night jobs. They're just trying to make it. And they want everything for their student that anybody else wants, but sometimes they don't have access to the necessary information. So that's where we have to make sure we leverage the resources we have to prepare students for success. And that means every student before they walk out the door should have a conversation with a counselor about their future and a plan for when they graduate. We did, with our budget, assign a college and career advisor to every single high school last year to make sure that that happens. The second commitment is positive climate and culture. And I talked a little bit about that, and about that being making sure that every student is in a school where there is a sense of belonging there. We have 3 objectives here: learning environments that foster inclusivity, connectiveness, and encourages social emotional wellness. Our second objective is making sure that our staff is empowered and knows how to support all students so that there is a strong sense of belonging. And then the last one is around sustainability. our facilities being facilities that are welcoming, safe, and sustainable. So every school looking at not just sustainability, we'll have our first net zero school in Occoquan, but also we want to have green ribbon schools. We had Freedom was just awarded the Green Ribbon Award. The year prior to that, the whole school division was a Green Ribbon School Division. So we're really excited about all of the environmental friendly practices that we're employing. But we also are taking a hard look at all of our facilities. And this summer, what will come out, and Mayor Wood, I'll share this so that you can share with the full council. We are going to be doing a facilities index, which we've never had before. What I've challenged my operational team, my facilities team on is that we do have a CI plan, right? We have a capital improvement plan. But what I'm challenging them to do is that plan really true to where the highest needs are being prioritized first? So we're doing a facilities index assessment, and that will show us like which schools are red, a yellow, which schools are maybe up for renovation, but they're green. They're in a good spot. And there may be another school that needs more significant renovations, so that we could take a hard look at how we're using equity and applying that to the way that we address our facilities concerns. So that's in the strategic plan as well, and that's coming out this summer. So some of the goals in positive climate and culture is our student report of satisfaction on our survey, our climate survey. We also want to division-wide decrease greenhouse gas emissions reduction, which we're really doing a good job on that. Certified staff retention, we want to be at 90%. Increasing the diversity, I believe that representation matters. I see how our students respond when I come in the room and our young ladies see a woman leading in a CEO position, and the comments that I hear them make, it just tells you so much about why representation is important. And so with the diversity that has occurred with our student population, where we have 72% of our student population minority, students also have to see in their classrooms and in leadership, they have to see teachers and leaders that look like them. And so we are working really hard to increase our diversity. 5%, a lot of people balk at that, like that sounds low. But when you have 17,000 employees, 5% is a big deal, especially when you're trying to source talent in a national, teacher shortage, bus driver shortage, et cetera. But I am happy to report that as of this year, we are already at a 3% increase. And that's just in our teacher workforce. We're higher in terms of leadership and the number of principals of color that we have placed. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, we are looking to have a environmental curriculum and hire 350 new international teachers. And I think we're somewhere above the 200 mark on hiring international teachers, which has significantly helped our diversity numbers. And we want to have 75 teaching assistants where we pay for them to actually go through the educational coursework to become certified special education teachers. So that's a part of our grow your own mentality. Some of the strategies in climate and culture I'll call out here. We launched last year our You Belong Here program, which is a comprehensive diversity, inclusion, and equity organizational initiative. We did launch our diversity, equity, and inclusion framework. Prince William County Schools now has its first ever diversity, equity, and inclusion office headed by Dr. Lucretia Brown. We never had that before. And in that office, a lot of the work around equity, whether it's pushing to make sure that our financial resources, our policies, our practices, our academic specialty program and access to that we're looking at all of those things through a lens of equity. We have increased our partnerships with colleges and universities to get a more diverse certified applicant pool, making sure that we're tapping into our HBCUs so that we can get more diversified talent in our classrooms. And then we also launched our PWCS HEALS initiative, which really focuses on social emotional learning, restorative practices, trauma-informed care, especially coming out of the pandemic. So many of our students came back to us, experienced tremendous trauma, and we were not equipped to deal with that. So we really went through a process of training and partnering with some of our local health professionals so that we can meet the needs of our students as it relates to their mental health. The third commitment is family and community engagement. And I cannot say enough that we cannot do this work alone. Even as I talk about the mental health concerns that we have, we are not trained professionals to deal with mental health. Even our counselors, they're not trained in that, right? So we have to have professional licensed healthcare providers supporting us with a lot of those efforts. We also need our community organizations and partners supporting us to provide resources to our families. And so even with the presentation that I saw tonight where you supported families getting help, many of our families come to the schools first. And we have to know what resources are available in the community to point them in the right direction or to reach out and say to the Dumfries Council, hey, we've got this family that's experiencing this. And so that's where those partnerships come in. 3 objectives in family and community engagement. 1, we want to engage our families and communities as authentic partners in education. That means that, yes, it's nice to come to an assembly, it's nice to come to a fun day, but that's not what engagement is, the only thing that represents engagement. We want our families to be a part of decision-making. So the school advisory councils, we want them to be a part of. The principal advisory council, we want them to be a part of. We want them to know that their voice is valued in the development of the school's improvement plan, things of that nature. So that's what that objective gets to. Working collaboratively with our community agencies and business partners is one thing I talked about a little bit earlier, trying to get more partners signing on. And I'll talk a little bit more about our goals and initiatives with that. And then finally, ensuring honest, transparent, and two-way communication with families. One of the first things that I heard when I arrived to Prince William County, when I did a listening tour, was families felt like they weren't informed. They felt like they weren't getting enough communication. They felt like they didn't know what was going on in the division at large. And so we've put a lot of things in place that I'll talk about to try to remove those communication barriers. Some of the goals with family and community engagement include: we want 85% of our schools by 2025 having a high-functioning school advisory council. So some schools have a strong council where parents are engaged and they're coming to the meetings, and then some schools have defunct councils that are not operating, or they don't have parents that actually know about them. They're just not functioning the way that they should be. So we're working to put guidelines in on what going back to that organizational coherence, putting guidelines to say every school in Prince William County should have a school advisory council, and this is the way the council should function. That's one of our initiatives. We wanted to have 100% of our schools that have parent liaisons, and I'm happy to report that we have in our budget over the last 2 years funded parent liaisons. So now every single school in Prince William County has a parent liaison. Why is that important? Because our parents, there are families, especially our Hispanic families, that don't feel like schools are hospitable places to them, especially if they are non-English speaking and there's no one at the school that can speak the language. The parent liaisons are people from the community that live in the community with parents that parents trust, that they will go to probably first before they go to anyone else in the school. So the parent liaisons play a big role in bridging the gap between home and school. We set a goal to increase parent and guardian participation by 10%. And we want every single school to have at least one formal business partnership or community partnership to support school improvement plans and post-secondary success. So what we found so far is you'll have one school that has 5 business partners and another school that has 0. And so what we're trying to do now is do a matching, have business partners sign on with the understanding that we want every school to have a formal business partnership that's supporting their school improvement plan. And we're doing more of the matching so that we can eradicate some of the inequities that exist with schools having access to resources and partners and other schools not having any. I talked a little bit about some of the strategies already. I'll just hit on a couple that I think are critically important. We this year launched a two-way communication platform. It's called School Status. We launched it in around, I think, December. And what that did was remove the barrier to communication. So right now with School Status, any teacher, any principal, anyone in the school, and even at the division level, we can use this technology to call, text, or email a family, and whatever their home language is in our system, it'll auto-translate for the family. So if I pick up the phone and call a family, whatever, it's just like how you have those numbers that are just like the technology creates a random phone number. So it's not an identity. Teachers don't have to call from their cell phone or call from the school phone. They use the system to dial, and whatever they're saying is automatically translated into the home language. We send text messages, it's auto-translated, and emails are auto-translated. And so that's the way we were removing some of the barriers to communication. And we just launched school status the second semester. We didn't even do it at the beginning of the year. It just got up and running second semester, and already we've sent over 1 million emails, over 900,000 text messages, over 10,000 phone calls. And so we're really happy about that, because that was communication was a big barrier because of language. I will move. Oh, and we also set a funding agenda, the first ever funding agenda, so that our business partners, we can say specifically, this is where we need dollars, whether it's STEM support for schools, whether it's professional learning for schools, whether it's science lab, whatever it is, we put a funding agenda out, and we're asking all of our business partners to contribute to meeting our annual goals for fundraising. The final commitment is organizational coherence. And so with that, we're trying to build systems and structures for strong continuous improvement, meaning that every school has a strong improvement plan that families can access and know what the priorities are, what the data says about their school, and understand what strategies they're using to improve. Removing the barriers to communication to facilitate collaboration, making sure that our priorities are driving our investments. So we shouldn't have a budget that we put forward and you can't point back to our strategic plan and say exactly what we said we were going to do in that plan is funded in our budget, because we believe that what you value is where you put your money. And so if this is what we value, everything that we're saying in the strategic plan is what we value, then you should see that show up in our budget. And so our current budget is driven by these priorities. Anything outside of these priorities, anything outside of the strategic plan, it cannot show up in the budget, because we can't just have random things that we're covering when we've got all these needs of our students in our schools. What that also does is it ensures fiscal integrity and responsibility, so that our families can trust that what we say we're going to do to support their students is exactly where we're putting our dollars. Some of the things that you'll see here is making sure that we have schools that are funded equitably and for adequacy. That one, a lot of times I get a lot of questions about that. What that means is, yes, every school does get their piece of the pie, meaning if you've got 500 kids enrolled, whatever that per pupil number is for the different population of students that you have, you get that for your 500. If you've got 1,000 kids, you get a per pupil amount for each of those 1,000 students. And it is equitably driven, meaning that there's a weighted formula. So if you're a student with special needs, your per pupil amount may be different from a general education student, or a EL student's per pupil amount may be higher than a general education, because what it takes to educate that student equitably may cost us more. They're getting that. But what we found adequacy is, no matter how many students are enrolled in your school, you should be able to provide a high quality education. So if PWCS says this is the standard of excellence in education, you shouldn't fall short because you have fewer students enrolled in your school, so you have less money. And so what's happening is, if you have a school with 2,000 kids, of course, they've got a lot more wiggle room to have a full-time music teacher or have, an extracurricular program. If you've only got 500 kids, yes, you got your per pupil amount, but that may only cover the bare minimum of staffing, right? You may not be able to have extracurricular activities. You may not be able to have an additional fine and performing arts program. So what we're trying to do is take a hard look at the methodology and how we fund schools, so that no matter how many students are in your school, that shouldn't determine whether or not you get the same quality of education of a school that has more students in it, because now they get more funding, right? Whatever the minimum expectation of excellence is, every school should be able to meet that regardless of how many students they have. Now, you could go above that but you can't go below. And if the funding that is being provided causes you to go below, then we should be doing something about that as a school system. So we do have a budget task force currently working to look at our funding formula and our methodology to determine what improvements need to be made. That's a challenging process because it's only a certain amount of money. But what we put in place until we get those recommendations is what we called a small schools equity grant. So all of our small schools got additional dollars last year and this year so that we could fill in the gap for where sometimes they could barely make ends meet, until we get to a place where we can address the current methodology for how we fund. The other thing I'll call out here in terms of goals beyond what you've already saw, as I do want to point out the 100% at the bottom right hand, up-to-date digital learning tools and one-to-one technology for all teachers and students. Another thing that we noticed, going back to that budget, if a school doesn't have enough to update their laptops or to get interactive panel boards and all of those things, they'll just go without it. Where you could have a school a few miles away that has all the bells and whistles. So what we did was centralize the digital learning tools, meaning the school division paid for last summer every single school to ensure that no student had a device that was more than 4 years old. No teacher or student had devices more than 4 years old. We paid for all of the upgrades. We did not take it out of the school's budget so that they could use that money for other things. And then we also made sure every single school had the interactive flat panels in the classroom, because we had some schools that had them, some schools that didn't. It was all dependent upon if you had the money in your budget. So we centralized that. And so we had a digital equity plan that was fully funded. And that was one of the key strategies. So if you look at the key strategies, one for organizational coherence is the strategic plan that I'm going over today, developing a digital equity investment, which we've already made good on to the tune of $10 million this past summer. And then having a long-term financial plan and forecasting model, as well as one thing that I didn't talk about is competitive wages. So last year, in my first year, we budgeted $80 million to ensure we can provide a 7% increase to our staff. And then this year, we did another about $40 million, but then we also did a $6.2 million investment in our early to mid-career teachers. What happens in Prince William County is the longer you stay in Prince William County, your salary becomes more competitive. So our veteran teachers, their salary is outpacing the region, whereas our early and mid-career teachers, there's a disparity. We don't have parity with them and other school systems like Fairfax and Loudoun. So what we've done is try to bolster that early and mid-career. And so we've pumped more money in that area just recently to the tune of $6.2 million to close the gap for those teachers, recognizing that we're doing well at the top and we've got to do more to shrink the gap at the bottom. So over the course of the last 2 years, we've invested significantly in salaries and benefits. So that is all I have for the strategic plan. Those 4 key commitments: learning and achievement for all, positive climate and culture, family and community engagement, and organizational coherence. We have lofty goals, but we also have really ambitious and research-based strategies to go with them. I do want to thank you for having me here today. I know that was a lot of information, but we have a lot of work to do. We have 91,000 plus students in our school system and across 100 schools. So it's a lot of heavy lifting that won't be easy, but I will say that we hit the ground running and we're already making progress. My hope is to come back to you next year. This upcoming school year, probably mid-year, I'll be providing a update to the progress we've made on all of these things I just laid out for you so that you can see the numbers and where we are. So when I talk about we want to increase students in gifted or we want to increase students in AP and IB, I want to also come back and show you where are the numbers today, right? And how close are we getting to some of these goals? So you should expect that mid-year, probably after the first semester, I would love Mayor Wood to come back before you and Vice Mayor Nickerson and the entire council and share an update on how are we doing with this plan in terms of meeting, being on track to meet our goals by 2025. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you for coming. That was a very robust presentation. I remember coming to your strategic planning meeting, looking at what you had to work with, what you come in. And I think the biggest advantage that people don't know about you is that you worked in almost every position in the school, starting as a assistant teacher to a teacher, to assistant principal, to a principal, and worked your way up through the school system. So to be able to bring so many different diverse backgrounds up, but I'm not gonna tell them what you wrote your dissertation and I'll let them but your report really demonstrates that. So thank you. How can they send you emails in order to get questions to you?
Yeah, we could, I have my chief of staff here, so she could leave the email contact for you to any questions that you have. And I heard Vice Mayor Nickerson said that she wants to be able to track the follow-up on those questions, answers to those questions. We're happy to answer those and send those forward to you. And then I'll try to work on giving you a date for when we would be ready to do an update on the progress as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, next is our town manager's report.
Good evening, members of council. You have before you my town manager's report. Many of the numbers are still the same from last month. That's on page 7 of your agenda. What I want to highlight, though, are some things that we've done over the last month as it relates to recruitment and the request for proposals that I've been assigned to work on. So recruitments, we are interviewing for the chief financial officer position tomorrow. We anticipate a selection to be done by mid-July, if not sooner. We are recruiting for a planning and community development director. We have not scheduled interviews as of yet, as we're still waiting for additional applicants to come in. Next month, we plan on beginning the recruitment for a human resources position as well as a senior accountant, but we will do that after the selection of the chief financial officer position. We have done 2 requests for proposals after the date. One is an update for the comprehensive plan review and update, and the proposals are due to the town on July 17th at 2 p.m. The other is the classification and compensation study. And those proposals are due on July 6th here in the town at 2 p.m. If you have any questions, I'm available. I'm also developing a scope of work for a new financial management system for the town. Any questions for me?
Council? Seeing none, thank you for that outstanding report and keeping us updated.
Thank you.
We appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Action items. We have 2 quick action items tonight, council. 3, and then we'll be out of your way. First one is a resolution initiating amendments to chapter 54 of the town code of Dumfries, a subdivision ordinance, and we want to schedule a public hearing for July the 11th. Anything to add to it? Okay, so that proposal, if you
So
want.
moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Pete. Second. All right, any discussion on the proposed amendment? None? Okay, then we're voting to schedule a public hearing for July, to properly advertise and to schedule it for July 11, 2023. Seeing there's been motion and second, I'll call for the question. Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Aye.
Councilman Peterson,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and that's a yes. All right, next action item is a resolution initiating amendments to chapter 70 of the zoning Code of Virginia, public hearing is scheduled the same day, July 11, 2023.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Fields?
Question for me.
Okay.
On this, is this is this piggybacking pretty much off the first one?
Yes.
Okay, so I want
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Peterson,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Fields,
yes.
Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem,
Aye.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and that's a yes for me. Okay. All right, final action item, continuation of the resolution authorizing the town manager to advertise public hearing on the conditional use amendments application CUPA 2019-003 for the Colonial Downs Group. The original public hearing date was scheduled for today, right?
Correct.
And we moving the date to July 11th.
Yes. I could talk about that real quick. So for the planning commission meeting, it was scheduled for June 12th, which was last Monday. Unfortunately, there were some conflicts with three of the planning commissioners, which meant we had no quorum, which meant we couldn't vote on anything. So that had to be canceled. And then we decided, then we had to delay the public hearing then until July 11th, which is after the planning commission meeting in July, which is July 10th.
Okay.
So
Council, any questions about the change? Okay, see it now. I welcome a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we move second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, I call for the question. Councilman P?
Yes.
Councilman Fields?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem?
Aye.
Councilman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
And that's a yes for me. Okay, last item would be a closed session. Want to read the resolution? Over there.
Whereas the town council of the town of Dumfries desires to discuss in closed meeting the following matter. One personnel matter relating to the appointed acting town attorney pursuant to VA code. 2 Tech 2-3711 Tech A. Whereas pursuant to VA code 2 Tech 2-3711 Tag A, discussion of such personnel matter may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the town council of the town of Dumfries does hereby authorize discussion of the aforestated matter in closed meeting. So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we move second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the Councilman Peterson,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman P,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem,
Aye.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah.
That's a yes for me. A motion carried 7-0. We'll take about a quick 10 minutes, goes, and we'll meet in it.
Right. Oh, you don't have no-
Why are they stuck? I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Yeah, I'm still.
Yeah, we know that.
And that's different.
It's something. You can't just be throwing something out there, don't tell me what it means. Trying to.
Can't even comment, because I don't understand.
Oh, no.
Damn, I
Make sure you keep.
You going in right now?
Thank you.
she's asking about it. I was like, what?
You ready?
How you doing? Good, how are you? It's cold in here.
Oh, damn. My grandmother even got it. Look what they did to Victor Agnes. Name is not even on the ballot.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You seen this? We got it. Yeah, I got one in the car.
Man, this,
I'll read it. Whereas the town council of Dumfries has convened in closed session on a vote recorded according to the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Virginia Code 2.2-3712 requires a certification that the town closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore being resolved that the town council of the town of Dumfries hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting, to which certification resolution applies. Only such public business matters as were identified in the motion going into the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the town council.
Summer.
It's been moved
Second.
and second. Any discussion? Saying none, I will call for the question. Councilwoman Peterson,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman Pete,
yes.
Chair Pro Tem,
Aye.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
That is a yes for me. That motion carries 7-0. And I think that's it. This meeting is adjourned.